Usually when we sit down to talk about Hollywood, we are in, pretty safe territory.
Yeah, comfortable ground.
We're talking box office receipts, maybe some casting drama, or the technical wizardry behind a blockbuster is usually pretty low stakes.
Right.
But today we are walking.
A minefield is a polite way to... I'd say we're looking at a head-on collision between two completely incompatible versions of...
Tectonic.
It is, yeah, absolutely tectonic.
Exactly. On one side, you have James Cameron, the Titan, the man who built Titanic, the Terminator, Avatar. I mean, this is a man who doesn't just make movies. He essentially prints money and invents technology for the film industry.
He's the establishment's establishment. You can't get bigger.
And on the other side?
On the other side, you have a fierce, no-holds-barred online critic from the YouTube channel Mr. H Reviews Live Archives.
And these two, they are just disagreeing about whether a movie was good or bad.
Oh, no. It goes so much deeper than that. They are clashing over the fundamental definition of sanity.
That is the hook for today's deep dive. We are analyzing a reaction video, and the title is, James Cameron Thinks Americans Are Insane. Now, I have read the transcript, and I have to warn you and the listener, insane is actually one of the nicer words thrown around in this exchange.
It really is. The gloves come off immediately. And the catalyst here is an interview Cameron gave, which was highlighted by Variety magazine. He's comparing his life in New Zealand to the state of things in the United States. And he didn't just say he prefers the scenery or, the weather.
No, he made a moral and psychological judgment that absolutely set the internet on fire.
He really did.
So here is our mission for this deep dive. We're going to unpack this rebuttal. We have this aggressive, passionate, and let's be honest, incredibly insulting rant from the critic.
Yep.
Our job is to strip away the vitriol, the name-calling, and the shouting to find the actual arguments underneath.
If we can.
We're going to try.
Yeah.
We are going to talk about COVID pollen.
Yeah.
The definition of cohesion, the hidden economics of the Avatar franchise, and a fascinating, somewhat terrifying theory about artificial intelligence.
And before we dive in, we have to state the ground rules. Especially for a topic this volatile, this is important.
Very important.
We are impartial observers here. We are like anthropologists observing a war. When we quote the critic calling someone a clown or using specific, colorful language about political figures, we are reporting the data.
That's all it is, data.
We aren't endorsing the insults, and we aren't endorsing Cameron's original comments either. We are just dissecting the anatomy of the comment.
Right. We're looking at why this clash is happening.
Right.
Why does a comment about sanity trigger such a meltdown? So let's get right into it. Segment 1, the catalyst.
Okay.
It all starts with that one loaded word Cameron used, sanity.
It is a heavy word. And in the Variety interview, Cameron is just singing the praises of New Zealand. He calls it amazing, but he clarifies that he isn't there for...
Which is an interesting thing to say about New Zealand, of all places.
Right. But he says explicitly, I live there for the sanity.
Which, by definition, implies that where he used to live, the United States, is the opposite.
It's a binary setup.
It is. If I am here for sanity, then you, over there, must be living in insanity.
And he doesn't even leave that to implication. He spells it out. He describes the U.S. as polarized. He says people are at each other's throat.
And ultimately, he just labels the entire American political and social landscape as...
insane.
Insane. That is a broad brush to paint, 300+ million people with?
A very broad brush.
But does he give a specific metric for this insanity? Is it just a vibe, or is he basing it on something tangible?
Oh, he ties it directly to science and social cohesion. This is critical to understanding the critic's reaction later.
Okay.
Cameron's argument is that New Zealand believes in science and work cohesively to a common goal.
So there's the metric.
There it is. In his view, the U.S. is turning its back on science. He actually says the U.S. would be in utter disarray if another pandemic appeared.
Okay, so let's pause and unpack Cameron's worldview here. For him, sanity equals consensus.
Yes.
It equals a population moving in the same direction, following scientific leadership, functioning like a well-oiled machine. That is his utopia.
Correct. And if you think about his movies, that makes the kind of sense, doesn't it? He runs these massive productions. He needs thousands of people doing exactly what they are told to achieve a singular...
Cohesion is his currency.
It's everything. Without it, the whole thing falls apart.
Now, enter the critic, Mr. H. How does he process this definition of sanity?
He rejects it viscerally. And this is where we see the immediate shift from, intellectual disagreement to personal attack.
Because he ease into it.
Not at all. He doesn't say, I respectfully disagree with James's assessment. No, he calls Cameron a clown. He calls him dumb. He says this is the dumbest shit I've heard for a while.
It is immediate hostility. And there was a specific phrase he used that really stood out to me. He called Cameron low T.
Yes, low T. which one has to assume is short for low testosterone.
Right. And that is a fascinating angle of attack, isn't it? It immediately reframes the entire argument.
It does.
It isn't just about who is right or wrong about a virus or a country. It is about vitality. It is about masculinity.
It frames Cameron's desire for safety and cohesion not as a virtue, but as a weakness, a biological failing.
So the critic is tearing down Cameron's binary worldview. Cameron says, New Zealand is good because it follows the rules. The USA is bad because it fights.
And the critic looks at that and says, no, your good is actually weak, and your sanity is actually submission.
Let's drill down on this concept of cohesion, because I think this is the philosophical split. For a guy like Cameron, a director who runs these massive, complex sets, cohesion is the ultimate goal.
It has to be.
If people aren't cohesive, the movie doesn't get made. It's about efficiency. It's about results.
Exact. To a director, lack of cohesion is chaos. It is failure. It's millions of dollars down.
But for the critic, cohesion triggers a completely different set of alarms. He doesn't see people holding hands and singing Kumbaya.
No, he sees people being forced into line. He views that cohesion as a lack of critical thinking, or worse, as you said, authoritarian.
It is almost like they are speaking different language. Cameron says cohesion, meaning we are all in this together, working for a common good.
And the critic hears cohesion and translates it as, you are forcing me to do what you want, or else.
That is the perfect distinction. And this philosophical difference, it stops being abstract when they start talking about the pandemic.
This is where it gets grounded in.
And this brings us to segment 2, where the critic really starts deconstructing the narrative.
Yeah, he gets out his scalpel.
This is where the critic gets very, very literal with Cameron's word. Cameron makes a specific claim about New Zealand's success with the virus. He says they eliminated the virus completely.
And the critic latches onto that word eliminated, like a pit bull. He just will not let it go.
He attacks the logic of it.
He does. Because in the interview, Cameron admits that they eliminated it, but then it came back, so they eliminated it again, maybe 2 or 3 times.
I see where this is going. If you have to eliminate it twice,
then you didn't eliminate it the first time.
Yeah.
The critic argues, and it's a very simple point. If you've eliminated something, it won't come back.
He uses this very grounded, almost comedic analogy about a fly.
Right. I love this part.
He says, if I eliminate a fly,
it's gone. It's not coming back, mate. It's a fly.
It's just such a simple, common sense rebuttal. He is accusing Cameron of using Hollywood logic on a biological reality.
Exactly. You can fix a plot hole in a movie script by just saying, we fixed it, or you can retcon a character death.
Sure.
But in the real world, if the virus is back, the word eliminated is objectively false. He's calling him out on the language.
It is a semantic argument, but it strikes at the core of trust, doesn't it? The critic is saying, why should I listen to your lecture on sanity and science when you don't even know what the word eliminated means?
Precisely. It's about precision of language. And for the critic, if you're sloppy with your language, you're probably sloppy thinking.
And this skepticism extends to the vaccination numbers that Cameron is so proud of.
Oh, absolutely. Cameron cites a 98% vaccination rate in New Zealand as this huge badge of honor. He contrasts that with the U.S., which he says is sitting at 62% and falling.
So for Cameron, that 98% is proof of the sanity he loves. It is the scoreboard. New Zealand is winning 98 to 62.
That's how he sees it. It's a clear victory for cohesion and science.
But the critic doesn't see 98% as a high score.
No. He pushes back hard on that. He argues that time had moved on. The critic's perspective, and he claims to be backed by a wealth of data, is that the vaccines weren't that great and that there was a little bit of harm going on there.
Okay, so just to be clear for everyone listening, we aren't here to adjudicate the medical science or debate efficacy.
Not at all. We are analyzing the arguments as presented.
Right. So in the context of this argument, the critic is saying that the American skepticism that insanity Cameron hates was actually a rational response to new data.
That is his argument, yes. He believes the public narrative has crumbled. He sees Cameron as a man clinging to 2021 talking points in a world that has moved on.
So to the critic, the Americans turning their backs on science are actually just people who looked at the results, looked at the transmission rates after vaccination, and decided the initial strategy wasn't the silver bullet they were told it was.
Exact. He sees Cameron as stuck in the past.
Stuck in a script that everyone else has stopped reading.
That's a great way to put it. He's still performing Act 1 after the audience has left the theater.
And then the critic does something really clever rhetorically. He takes this medical argument and pivots back to Cameron's own movies. He uses what we're going to call the Avatar vaccination metaphor. This was surprising to me.
This was a sharp piece of satire. It's where the insults get almost poetic.
He mocks the idea of elimination by applying it to the film Avatar. He says, I tried to completely eliminate Avatar, and I did, and then the second movie came.
He's treating the movie franchise like it's a recurring virus, a persistent infection.
He is. But then he flips the vaccination statistic. This is the good part. He says there was a 98% Avatar vaccination rate.
Meaning what exactly? What is he implying there?
Meaning that, in his view, 98% of the public developed an immunity to the franchise. They didn't want to see it. They rejected it. He is taking Cameron's proudest statistic, that 98% compliance, and turning it into an insult about his box office and his cultural relevance.
That is a brutal double tap. That's really something.
It is. He insults the politics and the art in one single sentence. He is saying, nobody wants your shot and nobody wants your movie.
It shows the level of disdain here. He isn't separating the artist from the art or the politics from the product. To him, the movie is the virus, and the director is the pathogen.
He's mocking the idea that Avatar had this massive cultural footprint, suggesting instead that people actively developed antibodies against it.
It's an incredible rhetorical move, you have to admit.
This leads us perfectly into segment 3. We talked about cohesion earlier, but now we need to look at the dark side of that word.
Right.
Cameron calls it working together. The critic calls it authoritarian.
This is where the critic challenges the voluntary nature of that 98% vaccination rate. Cameron presents New Zealand as a choir singing in harmony, everyone choosing to sing the same note.
And the critic hears that and says, no, that's not what happened.
He presents it as a hostage situation.
He talks about the threat to people's livelihoods, right?
Yes, very directly. He quotes the ultimatum that he says people were given. No, you have to have this, or you won't be able to do this.
Do your job. Can't go into a store. Can't travel.
Exactly. He argues that people didn't comply because they were sane or because they believed in science. He argues they complied because they had a gun to their head regarding their jobs, they needed family.
So to the critic, Cameron isn't praising a moral virtue. He is praising the effectiveness of force.
That's it in a nutshell. He says, it was authoritarianism that made them get it right. He's basically saying, you're not praising sanity, Jem. You're praising tyranny because it got you the result you wanted.
And he directs a massive amount of venom toward the leadership of New Zealand at that time.
Oh, yes. Specifically, the former Prime Minister, Jacinda Ardern.
I remember this part of the transcript. The language gets extremely colored. I think we need to share it just to show the intensity of the feelings here.
It does. He refers to her as an archo-tyrannist, bloody communist, horse-faced, hard...
Wow. Okay, that is a string of words.
We have to parse that, despite the toxicity of it, to understand the anger.
Let's try.
Archo-tyrannist, I'm guessing he means arch-tyrannist, positions her as the ultimate villain of the story.
The big boss.
Then the communist label, which is a pretty standard political invective from the right against the left, but then it gets personal. The attacks on her appearance, horse-faced.
Yeah.
It shows that for the critic, this isn't just policy disagreement. It is deep personal hatred for that administration and what it represents.
This is Cameron is praising that administration by extension.
Cameron catches all the shrapnel. By saying he loves the sanity created by that leader, Cameron is effectively endorsing the tyranny the critic perceives.
You are judged by the company you keep and the governments you praise.
That's the logic.
But the critic goes further than just politics. He attacks the entire social reality of New Zealand. Cameron sells it as this welcoming, safe haven.
A paradise.
And the critic says, hold on. I know people there, and it is not a paradise.
He challenges the myth of New Zealand welcoming. He claims that if you are a foreigner, New Zealanders absolutely hate you.
That is a very strong generalization. Yeah. Absolutely hate you.
It is a huge one. He asserts they make it incredibly difficult for foreigners there. He cites personal anecdote, friends who moved there and struggled to integrate. He describes the locals as being at each other's throats in their own passive-aggressive way. He is essentially trying to pop Cameron's bubble.
Saying, you think Americans are the only ones fighting? Look around. Fighting is just quiet.
Exactly. And that leads us to the elite perspective, because the critic isn't just saying Cameron is wrong. He is saying Cameron is blind because he is rich.
This is a crucial part of the argument.
The class divide is everywhere. The critic points out Cameron is a literal billionaire. He assumes Cameron lives in a very nice compound.
So the argument is, of course New Zealand feels sane and cohesive when you are insulated by $1 billion.
Of course. You don't deal with the bureaucracy. Yeah. You don't deal with the job threat. You don't have to worry about the cost of living. You probably don't even deal with the alleged xenophobia because you're James Cameron.
It is the let them eat cake argument. Cameron is looking down from his castle saying, look how peaceful the village is, while the villagers are, in the critic's telling, struggling to survive.
Exactly. The critic says Cameron doesn't interact with plebes. He doesn't get out among the people.
So his definition of sanity is actually just isolation.
Yes. He has bought his way out of the chaos, and he mistakes his purchase for a societal virtue. He thinks the whole country is like his backyard.
Speaking of billionaires in business, this deep dive takes a fascinating turn in segment 4. This is where it got really interesting.
Me too.
The critic stops talking about the virus and starts analyzing the business of Hollywood, specifically the business of Avatar and artificial intelligence.
This is the part that I found most intellectually stimulating, even amidst all the anger. It feels like a conspiracy theory at first glance, but he lays out a logic chain that is, well, it's hard to ignore.
It makes you sit up and pay attention.
It really does.
It starts with what he calls the expensive movie narrative. And we've all heard Cameron say this in interviews, right?
Oh, yeah, cons. Avatar is so expensive. We need $2 billion just to break even.
I don't know if we can afford to make Avatar 4 and 5. We might have to wrap it up early. He's always playing the underdog.
Right. He frames the sequels as this huge, risky gamble. Will we make it? I don't know. It's up to the audience.
But the critic calls bluff. Big time.
He does. He points out that Disney has already set release dates for these movies years in advance. They have them on the calendar.
In his mind, there's zero chance these movies aren't kidding. The machine is too big to stop now.
So if the movies are guaranteed, why is Cameron complaining about the cost? Why the public hand-wringing? What is the strategic goal of that complaint?
The critic's theory is one word: AI.
Or intelligence.
He believes Cameron is setting the stage.
How so?
By constantly hammering home the message that human filmmaking is too expensive, he is creating a public justification for a solution.
Ah, I see.
He wants to be able to turn around in a year or two and say, well, guys, we can't make Avatar 5 unless we use AI to generate 50% of the visual. It is the only way to save the franchise.
That is deviant and brilliant. So the complaint about cost is a Trojan horse.
That is the theory. The critic claims Cameron wants to automate the process to protect his profit margins, but he knows the public and the unions, the actors, the writers, they hate the idea of AI taking jobs.
So he needs to manufacture a crisis.
Yes, he creates the crisis. The costs are too high. We can't go on. So that AI becomes the savior, not the villain.
I didn't want to use AI, folks, but you forced my hand. It was the only way to bring you the story you love so much.
Exactly. It creates a permission structure for automation. He gets to be the hero for saving the movie while also, cutting his costs massively.
And the critic mentioned the specific detail. He claims Cameron owns a share of a major AI company.
Now, we can't verify that financial holding from the source text alone, but the critic presents it as fact. He says he guarantees that Cameron is trying to make it okay to replace human effort.
And frankly, given Cameron's entire career history of pushing technology from CGI to 3D,
it isn't an enormous leap of logic to think he is heavily invested in the next wave of tech. He's always 5 steps ahead.
If you think about it, this connects back to the theme of control, doesn't it?
Tell me more.
Cameron likes the control of a cohesive society where everyone follows the rules.
Right.
And he would theoretically like the control of a digital AI-driven production where he doesn't have to deal with expensive, messy, unpredictable humans.
It is consistent. He wants a world and a movie set where he pushes a button and gets exactly what he wants without any pushback.
No arguments, no sick days, no union negotiations, just pure, unadulterated creation on his.
The critic also takes a swipe at the fan.
He really mocks this fan dynamic. He describes fans online begging each other, you have to go see the movie 5 times to save the franchise.
He thinks they're being played.
Total. He says Cameron creates this, I might not make the next one narrative to guilt trip the audience into buying more tickets. It's manufactured scarce.
It is manipulative. Go see the movie or the Na'vi die.
And the critic just laughs at it. He essentially tells the fans, you are being farmed. You are being harvested for your money based on a completely false premise that the movie is in.
Wow. Let's move to segment 5. We have covered the virus, business, the politic, and now we get personal. Hypocrisy, lifestyle, and the Shire.
This goes back to that initial quote from the Variety piece, the one that started.
I'm not there for the scenery. I'm there for the sanity.
The critic just cannot get over this line. It seems to offend him on a visceral level.
He finds it mental and ridiculous, and his argument is based on just, objective reality. New Zealand is arguably the most beautiful country on Earth.
It's famous specifically for its scenery. It's like moving to Egypt and saying, I'm not here for the pyramid.
To say you aren't there for the scenery is, to the critic, a blatant insulting lie.
He paints a picture of Cameron sitting in his multi-million-dollar compound overlooking the frickin' Shire, a direct reference to Lord of the Rings fame.
Right. He is saying you live in a fantasy paradise surrounded by mountains and rivers and pristine nature, and you have the audacity to pretend you are there for the politics.
Hypocrisy. And he uses the word retarded to express just how stupid he thinks that statement is. It shows the depth of his.
It reinforces the idea that Cameron is out of touch. He is signaling virtue while enjoying extreme luxury.
Yes. He wants credit for being a political refugee from the U.S. while actually just living in a billionaire's retirement paradise. He wants to have his.
And this leads to the critique of Cameron's masculinity. We touched on on low T earlier, but the critic really...
This is a major theme of the rebuttal. He accuses Cameron of hating testosterone and guns and anything remotely masculine.
Which is the ultimate irony, isn't it? Because this is the guy who gave us the T-800. This is the guy who gave us Aliens and the Colonial Marines.
This is the guy who wrote Rambo, First Blood Part 2.
That is the Terminator irony. The critic points out that Cameron built his entire fortune on gritty, violent, masculine action movie. He defined the genre for a decade.
And now, according to the critic, he is preaching safety, compliance, and soft, the exact opposite of the values most famous.
There's a graphic insult here. It's pretty shocking. He tells Cameron to shave your mustache off and grow some tits.
It is crude, but it underscores the critic's feeling of betrayal. He calls Cameron a loser and a bait.
And he uses the metaphor of the melting term.
Yeah, that was a striking image. The ultimate Terminator ended up being something that went soft all the time.
He is saying Cameron himself has melted. He has lost his edge. The man who directed Sarah Connor to fight the system has become the...
He used to make movies about rebels fighting. Now he is the possibly planning AI to make.
That is a powerful image. The rebel becomes the emperor.
And the audience, or at least this critic, feels like they have been left abandoned.
And the critic despises him for it. He views it as a betrayal of the very spirit that made Cameron famous.
It's a full circle condemnation.
So, looking ahead, segment 6, future prediction. The critic looks into his crystal ball regarding the future of Avatar.
And he's not optimistic, let's just say that. He mocks the future title. He mentions Avatar 4 and calls it the Tolkien Rider.
Tolkien Rider, is that a play on Tolkien or J.R.R. Tolkien?
It is hard to say from the audio, but it sounds mocking either way. It could be a jab at the derivative nature of the stories that Tolkien.
Or maybe implying it's just a token gesture of a movie.
Could be. But the real sting is in the release.
He notes it is coming in 2029.
Right. And he jokes that by the time it comes out, you won't be allowed to go see it anyway.
This is the 15-minute city reference.
Yes. He jokes that you might not be allowed to walk to the theater due to restrictions in the UK.
For context, the 15-minute city is an urban planning concept where everything you need is within a 15-minute walk or bike ride.
A pretty benign idea on the surface, but in these online circles, it is viewed as a precursor to climate lockdowns, the idea that the government will restrict your movement to a small radius to save the planet.
So he is tying it all together. The sanity Cameron loves in New Zealand, the cohesion, the compliance, the following the science.
Is just the beta test for the lockdown future of the faith.
Exactly. It is all one big web of control, in his view.
And he sees Cameron as the cheerleader for that future, the friendly Hollywood face of a deeply sinister agenda. He thinks Cameron is making movies to distract us while the wall is closed.
So, to summarize the critic's stance, and it's a lot, Cameron is a hypocrite who loves U.S. money but hates U.S. culture.
Check.
He praises authoritarianism and sanity. He is preparing to replace human effort in his films with AI to save money.
Check.
And he has betrayed the masculine, rebellious energy that made him famous.
That is the comprehensive takedown. He doesn't leave a single stone unturned. It is a total rejection of the man's politics and his methods.
So let's zoom out for the outro. We have waded through the mud here. We have heard the insults. We have analyzed the argument. What have we actually learned from this deep dive?
Well, I think we have explored a stark divide that goes way beyond. On one side, you have the globalist filmmaker. He values safety, science, centralized cohesion, and efficiency.
Right.
He looks at the world's problems, pandemics, climate change, and says, we need to get organized. We need to comply. We need to work as one unit or we will die. He sees it as an existential necessity.
And on the other side, you have the internet critic. He values skepticism, individual liberty, traditional masculinity, and a kind of rough-and-tumble freedom.
And he looks at Cameron's solution and says, your organization is a prison. Your sanity is boring and oppressive. Your safety.
Exactly. And the so what here? Why does this one reaction video matter? It's because it exemplifies the modern culture war.
Perfectly.
You can no longer just watch a movie. Entertainment figures are judged first and foremost on their alignment with specific political worldview. If James Cameron aligns with this system, then for a huge chunk of the audience, his art is now tainted. It's suspect.
It really erodes the trust between the creator and the audience. You aren't just watching a blue alien ride a dragon anymore. You are watching a globalist manifesto or a science believer's propaganda, depending on your side of the fence.
It makes it very hard to just enjoy the popcorn.
It really does.
But I want to leave our listener with one final provocative thought, something that really stuck with me from the AI discussion.
Go for it.
If the critic is right, and that is a big if, we have no proof, but if he is right that these complaints about movie costs are just a Trojan horse for AI adoption, are we ready for a future where our biggest blockbusters are justified by their efficiency rather than their artistry?
That is the chilling question. If we prioritize sanity and safety and efficiency above all else, do we eventually eliminate the messy, chaotic, expensive human element that makes art and life so first?
And does sanity always come at the price of freedom? That is the question Cameron and his critic are answering in two very, very different ways.
Indeed. One man's sanity is another man's.
Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. It was a wild ride.
Keep questioning.
See you next time.